My beloved child, awaken. For if you do not awaken now, you will continue to drift deeper into the slumber of false attachments, things you believe to be love but are truly chains. You are walking along a path where light is slowly being swallowed by the darkness of familiarity. And I, the one who created you, the one who knows every beat of your heart, can no longer remain silent. My child, there are those you call friends, and some you regard as special, yet they bring no light to your soul. They come with smiles, but behind them lie intentions that drain the very energy I placed within you. They confuse you between right and wrong, between truth and illusion, between love and control. You feel the heaviness in your heart when they are near, yet you think it is because you are too sensitive. You have convinced yourself that you must be kinder, give more, endure a little longer. But in doing so, the flame within you has begun to fade. I see this, and I declare, enough. For your kindness was never meant to be consumed by darkness. It was meant to be preserved to become a vessel of life. You have believed that true love means enduring, holding on, and continuing to hope that the other will change. But my child, true love does not rob you of peace. It does not ask you to compromise with darkness just to keep a false warmth. It does not require you to diminish your soul in order to be accepted. You are in a spiritual battle where the enemy disguises himself as affection. He whispers that if you let go, you will be alone, that if you walk away, you will fail. Yet I tell you the truth, the loneliness found in light is sweeter than 1,000 nights of companionship in darkness. Every sign I have sent you, the strange dreams, the unease in your spirit, the chill down your spine when hearing their words, the exhaustion that follows each encounter, none of these are coincidences. They are the voice of my spirit, gently saying, "Look again." You call it intuition, but it is divine warning. You call it sensitivity, but it is the alert system I built within your soul to protect you from what is not yours to keep. I see what you cannot. When you smile, I see behind that smile a weary soul struggling to hold on to what it fears losing. When you stay awake in the quiet hours, I see the messages you write, then erase the whispered prayers of Lord, what should I do? I have heard them all, and now I answer, stop, listen, discern. For not everyone who enters your life is sent by me. Some come to test your boundaries, some come to distort your understanding of love. Others come to pull you down from the place to which I have lifted you. You think they only need a little more love to change, but I who see the heart know that they do not seek change. They seek control. They wish to keep you within their reach because they fear losing the energy, gentleness, and goodness that they cannot create on their own. I did not design you to be a supply for souls that reject the light. I made you to be the dwelling place of my spirit, a living temple, a pillar of light in the night. But that temple has been polluted by repetitive conversations, unnecessary calls, and relationships that drain your soul. And I who dwell in holiness cannot share the same space with chaos. Therefore I must awaken you. Understand this. My child, the unrest in your heart is not your enemy, it is your guardian. When your spirit feels troubled, when your joy shrinks in their presence, it is not by chance. It is my spirit sounding the alarm. Do not let the darkness advance further. I know you fear being misunderstood, being seen as cold, or that letting go might hurt someone. But I say to you, obedience is greater than emotion. You are not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. You are responsible for your obedience to me. When I say block them, I speak not only of your phone, but of your heart, your spirit, your inner space. You must close that door, not out of hatred, but for protection, not out of pride, but out of reverence for the holiness I am building within you. You are in the process of discernment, separating light from darkness, truth from illusion, those who are sent from me, from those merely permitted for a season. And in this process, my silence is not abandonment. It is the sacred quiet that allows you to hear your own voice within mine. It is time for you to see not only with your eyes but with the Spirit. Ask yourself, does this person bring peace or confusion? Observe. After they come, does my soul grow brighter or dimmer? Do not judge by the words they speak, but by the atmosphere they carry. Wherever the Holy Spirit is, there is peace. Wherever there is manipulation, I am not there. My beloved one, let me explain to you the feeling you often call unease. It is not a random breeze passing over the lake of your mind. It is the alarm bell of heaven ringing within the inner sanctuary of your soul. You have often doubted yourself, thinking you are too sensitive, too emotional, too fragile. Yet that very too much in this context is grace. It keeps you from the edge. For I have placed within you an invisible compass, the sacred memory of the soul, to help you sense direction when your physical eyes can no longer see the way. When that compass trembles, it is not instability, it is a signal. Holy unease is different from restlessness born of fear. Fear dims your vision, but holy unease opens your eyes. Fear causes you to shrink back, while holy unease draws you into the light. Fear says don't move, but holy unease says look again at where you're standing. Do not condemn yourself when you feel a tightening in your chest, a heaviness on your shoulders, or weariness after a seemingly harmless conversation. Your body is the instrument of your soul. When your soul hears my voice, your body is often the first drum to beat in response. This is a kind of divine acoustics. Whatever touches the holiness within you will make a sound in your flesh. You have heard that sound before, but you often silence it out of politeness, fear of offending, or a desire to keep the peace. I tell you, this politeness must never crush conscience, and gentleness does not mean compromise. You ask, how can I discern between the anxiety of the flesh and the warning of the Spirit? My child, look at the fruit. Fleshly anxiety makes you run in circles within your mind without leading you to truth. The Spirit's warning moves you toward a righteous decision. Fleshly anxiety paints tragedy. The Spirit's warning draws boundaries. Fleshly anxiety walks hand in hand with shame. The Spirit's warning walks hand in hand with clarity. You will know by the fruit where I am after the first tremor passes. A grounding peace will follow, not a fleeting emotional calm, but the steady peace of clear direction. I have called to you many times through dreams. The images seem disjointed, a door opening and closing, a road darkening, as someone steps into the frame, a cracked jar in an unseen corner. You awaken with your heart racing and don't know why. Do not dismiss it. Dreams are the language your spirit understands, even when your intellect cannot yet name it. When you pray, you will see a fine thread connecting those scattered scenes into a picture. I am inviting you to step away from an atmosphere no longer aligned with you, to cut a cord that has withered even though you once believed it was your lifeline. Holy unease also speaks through spaces. Pay attention to a room when someone enters it. How does the spiritual temperature shift? Do your thoughts grow clearer or clouded? Does joy flow naturally, or must you force a smile? The Holy Spirit is the Spirit of peace and truth. Any atmosphere filled with His presence will lighten you, sharpen your mind, and widen your heart. But if after every encounter you must piece back together your inner integrity, justify what you know is wrong, or lower your standards to maintain connection, then unease is doing its job, placing a hand on your shoulder and turning you toward the door. You have excused yourself in the name of patience, tolerance, and non-judgment. My child, patience is not permission for chaos to remain. Tolerance is not leaving the city gate open for an invading army. Non-judgment does not mean shutting down your spiritual immune system. I did not create you to be a warehouse for others' emotional debris, but a temple for my presence. A temple has an outer court and an inner court. Whoever enters must pass through a door. That door's name is discernment. When you let every voice rush straight into the Holy of Holies, the altar gathers dust and the flame burns low. Holy unease arises to help you close certain doors and keep specific lamps burning bright. Do not fear that listening to unease will turn you into a skeptic. On the contrary, it makes you more faithful to truth. For truth is never fragile. It simply requires order. Order comes from boundaries. Boundaries come from hearing my voice. Scripture paints this simply. Your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." Isaiah 3:0-1. Do you hear it? That voice behind you is often soft yet weighty, quiet yet impossible to ignore. It does not threaten, it invites. It does not rush, it guides. There are moments when you wonder, if this is truly God's voice, why doesn't He speak louder? My beloved, I could make the mountains tremble and the seas roar, yet I choose to whisper so that my voice may rest closer than your breath. I do not wish to coerce. I long to walk beside you. Holy unease is the gentle tug that reminds you when you have drifted slightly off alignment. A small turning of the heart, not the world, will bring you back into the flow of my will. You need not move mountains, only adjust the compass within. So what should you do when unease knocks? First, pause. Take a moment, brief but honest. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, "Lord, speak," for your servant is listening. Breathe in slowly, exhale deeply, as though relighting the lamp of watchfulness. Then examine the fruit. Does that presence bring peace or confusion? Does it make you love what is good and hate what is evil? Does it respect your boundaries, strengthen your calling, or drain your life away? Afterward, choose one small act of obedience. Postpone an unnecessary meeting, shorten a repetitive conversation, write a clear but gentle boundary, or simply remain silent before the bait of argument. You do not need to turn a warning into a campaign. You only need to turn it into a step. Holy unease also invites you to adjust your rhythm. Chaos loves noise, truth loves silence. Create spaces free from screens and notifications so you can hear the movements of your soul. Write down what I whisper for words, anchor light into memory. Let my words wash through your inner stream. Read slowly, chew deeply, let each phrase soak into your marrow. You will find that after several faithful days, the fog in your mind will ebb like the tide, revealing the firm and dry shore of discernment. I also want you to face this truth. Some people are not meant to walk into your future. The unrest you feel around them is not selfishness. It is revelation that your paths no longer cross in this season. This does not condemn, it clarifies. You can bless without walking together, forgive without rebuilding intimacy, be courteous yet clear. Even my son, on the night he was betrayed, allowed Judas to leave into the night, for certain destinies unfold only when one door closes. Holy unease is the hand on the doorknob in the dark. When you heed it, dawn arrives on time. You may fear being misunderstood. My child, remember, I understand you before others judge you. You need not wait for universal approval to obey. Obedience is the flame. Approval is only passing wind. When you place obedience upon the altar, I complete the rest. I soothe the ache of separation, mend the torn threads within, and fill the empty space with the right people. Those who do not dim your light for their comfort, but shield its flame, so it can burn steadily. Here is how you will know you have heard correctly after the decision, though hard peace increases. Sleep deepens, smiles return without effort. Thoughts grow clear as windows freshly cleaned. You open the scriptures and the words align perfectly with your steps. You pray not to ask permission to stay, but to give thanks for deliverance. This is the mark of the Holy Spirit. He never stops disturbing you when you are in the wrong place, and never stops comforting you when you are back on the right path. I speak this not to make you fear people, but to make you revere me, the source of truth and freedom. Do not call darkness your friend merely because it wears a familiar face. Do not call chains an embrace merely because they feel warm for a moment. Listen to unease as the ticking of the divine clock. It signals that a season is complete, a door must close, a path must turn. When you press pause on what no longer belongs to you, you are pressing start on what I have prepared. My beloved, the moment you begin to listen and respond to the inner warnings is the beginning of a sacred separation. Do not fear when your world starts to shift, when familiar faces fade, when old conversations lose their spark. This is not loss. It is the rite of passage into freedom. When I separate you from what is not yours, I do not empty you to leave you barren. I clear the space for what is new and divine to fill. Every journey of light begins with a turning away from the crowd, and that turning is what the heavens call separation. I know your heart trembles. You ask, how can I walk when all that is familiar is leaving? But my child, it is familiarity that binds you. The old world feels safe because it asks nothing of your growth. It lulls you into the comfort of repetition, the theater of pretense. Yet I am calling you into the land of truth, where light is no longer filtered through masks, where you will no longer need to pretend to understand, endure, or be fine. That land opens through the courage of separation, and it is there that your true life begins. You think separation is loneliness, but in truth, it is the baptism of the soul. I will immerse you in the waters of silence, cleansing the dust of false voices, washing away the scent of dependence and raising you up as a new being, strong, radiant, and upright. Everyone I have ever chosen must pass through these waters. Abraham had to leave his homeland to see the promise. Moses had to enter the wilderness to hear my voice, and my son Jesus had to step away from the crowd to pray alone with the Father. Do you see now, my child? Separation is not a punishment. It is the sacred right of those who are chosen. I do not say that you must despise others. Separation is not a rejection of people, but a rejection of their influence over your soul. When I say come out, it does not mean stop loving. It means to love in the right order, to love me first, so that this love becomes a wall of light, protecting you from blind attachments. One who places me upon the throne will never love the wrong person. But when I am no longer at the center, your heart becomes an open door for those who come and go carrying chaos with them. Thus, separation is the act of restoring the holy throne within you. At first, you will feel as though you have lost a part of yourself. For the soul once entwined with unhealthy ties will feel empty when they are loosened. Yet that emptiness is the ache of a healing wound, like a surgeon removing what is infected to save the whole body. You will want to turn back to send a message, to hear an apology, but, my child, apologies are not the same as transformation. Do not let old memories rewrite your present. What I am doing is rebuilding your soul, and this reconstruction requires space. I will place you in a season of quiet. There you will find fewer companions, fewer words of comfort, and less noise. But do not mistake this quietness for abandonment. Within it, I am recalibrating your frequency. Like an instrument that has fallen out of tune, you must be restrung to harmonize with heaven. Every tear you shed in this season of separation is oil on those strings, making the song of your soul sound clearer and purer. You will see that when you stop trying to resuscitate what is dead, life itself will draw near. When you stop reaching out to grasp those who no longer belong, I will bring people who know how to hold your hand without hurting you. When you stop writing letters to the past, I will open a letter you have yet to read. The one I wrote to you before you were born with the first line, I have chosen you. My beloved, this is the stage where the soul learns to discern between a calling and an echo. The calling comes from me, gentle yet persistent. The echo comes from the past, loud but hollow. The calling pulls you forward. The echo keeps you stuck. Do not let the echoes of others drown out the calling of the Creator. When you listen closely, you will notice echoes always speak of them, but the calling always speaks of you. The echo asks, How could they leave me? The calling asks, do you still keep me at the center? Once you answer, the second, the first will dissolve on its own. I want you to understand, separation is not only an outward act, but an inward process. There are people you no longer see, yet they still live in your mind, in your prayers, in your memories. You must cleanse the inside as well. Each time their image arises, hand it to me. Each time a song reminds you of them, offer it to me. Each time you dream of them, do not fear. Pray for them and let go. For forgiveness does not mean companionship, and love does not mean possession. Forgiveness is entrusting that person into my hands so that you may be free. There comes a sacred moment that only the obedient experience, the moment when the soul becomes light. It does not come with fireworks or blinding light, but in a quiet morning when you wake and realize you no longer wish to look back. No more craving to be understood, no more hunger to be seen, only peace. And in that peace I whisper, you are ready for what comes next. This is the true beginning of freedom, not when you say I will go, but when you no longer wish to stay. When your soul ceases to resist, peace will flood in like light through an open window. And then you will understand every separation in God gives birth to a new union, the union between your soul and my will. My beloved child, remember this. Every separation within me is designed so that you may meet yourself again. When you part ways with what is wrong, you will rediscover the part of your being that has long been asleep. You will come to realize that you were never truly alone. You were simply being set apart from the crowd so that you could hear the voice of the one who speaks within. And from that place of sacred stillness, your new story will begin to unfold. For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you. Deuteronomy 7:6. My beloved one, there are people who come with smiles, with gentle words, with a manner so kind that you are led to believe they bear good intentions. Yet behind that softness hides a spiritual hunger, a soul not seeking me, but seeking to draw energy from those who carry my light. They do not come to unite, but to drain, like a subtle parasite disguised in the form of care. I tell you the truth, not every touch is a comfort, and not every tender word is born of true love. Some words are crafted to bind, not to heal. Look deeper, my child. Manipulators never arrive like storms. They come like light rain, drip by drip, until you mistake familiarity for warmth. At first, they make you feel seen, heard, and valued. But soon you will realize that their attention does not nourish, it depletes. You begin to fear hurting them, fear their anger, fear their absence. You start adjusting your words, your behavior, even your thoughts, to fit their expectations. And in that moment, you have surrendered the control of your soul to an unholy hand. They know how to read your emotional signals. They can sense the goodness within you and turn it into their tool. They say what you long to hear, promise what they never intend to keep, and plant in you the feeling of indebtedness. When you rejoice, they withdraw. When you weep, they draw near just enough for you to believe they are your comfort. Yet behind the scenes, each time you grow weak, they pull the strings to affirm their dominance. You feel as if something is controlling you, though you cannot explain why. My child, this is the mechanism of a manipulative spirit, an invisible cord coiled around the soul, dulling your discernment between genuine kindness and cunning control. Manipulation is not confined to words. It flows through spiritual atmosphere. When a person carrying dark energy approaches, the air around you changes. Your heart sinks, your joy retracts, and your light dims as though trapped under glass. I have given you the sensitivity to perceive this, but you often dismiss it, thinking everyone has flaws. Yes, my child, everyone may err, but not everyone schemes. There is a great difference between one who stumbles in weakness and one who plots in willful deceit. The weak stir your compassion, the manipulative sow confusion within you. The spirit of manipulation always begins with counterfeit empathy. They share sorrowful stories to provoke your compassion, turning you into their rescuer. But soon that very compassion becomes your chain. Each time you try to leave, they make you feel guilty. Each time you set a boundary, they punish you with silence or tears. And when you relent, they return as if nothing ever happened. It is an energy cycle, a loop between giving and taking pity and control, draining your strength while convincing you that this is love. But true love, my child, never exhausts the soul, it enlarges it. I have seen you pray many times, Lord, please help them change. But my dear one, I never appointed you to be anyone's redeemer. You were not created to carry the burdens of those who refuse to surrender them to me. It is a trap wrapped in goodness. You believe that if you love enough, they will be healed. Yet I ask you this, if your love alone could save them, why do they still choose darkness? Because healing does not come from your affection. It comes from their repentance before me. No one can be delivered unless they truly desire deliverance. What grieves me is not your love, but your misplaced sacrifice. Your love is a treasure, yet the manipulator cannot cherish it. They see it only as energy to sustain their pride. They will lift you up when they need you and push you down to test their control. They will promise and withdraw, keeping you in a state of longing, confusion, and lack. This is the game of emotional dominance, and if you are not awake, your kindness will become the weapon turned against your own heart. Do not let them convince you that you are too sensitive, too demanding, or too conflicted. When you sense that the truth is being distorted, that is the very moment your vision is clearest. Manipulative souls fear the truth because truth melts the ice of their power. They survive by planting doubt, making you question yourself, making you believe that you are the problem. But I say to you, the truth will set you free, John 8:32. When you stand upon the foundation of truth, you will no longer be pulled by emotional strings. My beloved one, a manipulator does not only crave your energy, they want your definition. They want to control the way you see yourself. They speak just enough kindness to make you stay, yet withhold enough warmth to make you always feel you must try harder. You begin to question your worth to seek validation, and every time they offer a little praise, you feel rescued. That is the bait of control, an emotional drug that keeps you addicted to the gaze of another. I tell you this, take back the right to define yourself. You are not defined by how others treat you, but by what I have called you. I have called you chosen, beloved, and redeemed. When you stand in that identity, every attempt at manipulation will dissolve like smoke. For a soul who knows its divine origin cannot be ruled. Pay attention, my child. Manipulators avoid the light. When you begin to speak boundaries clearly, to pray aloud, to mention my name, they will slowly fade away. They cannot bear the atmosphere of truth. Let them go. Their departure is not a loss. It is the natural reaction of darkness retreating before light. When you choose loyalty to me, deceitful souls will expose themselves. You need not fight. Light itself does the separating. My beloved, do not regret that you trusted the wrong ones, nor feel ashamed that you loved. Trust and love are not sins. They were simply given to the wrong place. But from now on, you will learn to distribute your light with discipline. I will teach you to love without being used, to give without losing yourself, to help without dissolving. True love walks hand in hand with wisdom, and wisdom comes from the Spirit, not from emotion. Therefore, when you meet souls wrapped in the disguise of care, look through spiritual eyes. If their presence makes your spirit shrink, it is not love. If their words make you hide yourself, it is not comfort. If their closeness draws you away from me, it is not a holy bond. Place your hand upon your heart and whisper, Lord, I only wish to keep what belongs to you. And when you say this, my child, I will draw near. I will cover you with peace, as a father placing his hand upon the head of a child just freed from delusion. For I know how those who feigned care have wounded you. but from now on they shall have no power over you. The light within you is being restored, and where light is restored, darkness cannot dwell. My dear one, I have seen you confuse endurance with compassion, sacrifice with blindness, kindness with complicity. You believed silence was noble, that enduring meant loving, that forgiveness meant permission. Yet, my child, this is one of darkness's most subtle schemes, to turn your kindness into a weapon against yourself. The enemy cannot create goodness, but it knows how to twist goodness into a snare. It does not steal your light by force, but by whispering softly. If you are truly good, you will not walk away. If you truly love, you will bear it. And so you bowed your head, believing you were carrying a cross, while in truth you were bearing a chain I never placed upon your shoulders. Remember, this true love does not break the soul, it nourishes it. True mercy does not erase boundaries, it rebuilds them in light. I have never called you to endure evil in the name of kindness. When my son Jesus walked the earth, he did not allow the wicked to exploit his compassion. He washed the feet of the betrayer, yet he did not let him sit upon the throne. He loved Judas, but he did not walk beside him once darkness entered his heart. That is love with discernment. Love that knows when to step back. Love that refuses to be twisted into bondage. I have seen your heart shattered from being dismissed, exploited, and endlessly demanded upon. You believed that if you were more patient, if you sacrificed a little more, they would finally understand. But my child, goodness alone cannot heal one who refuses the light, for healing does not begin with your kindness, but with their repentance. You are trying to save someone who does not wish to be saved, and in that struggle, your own spirit is slowly dying. When compassion is distorted, it becomes a sickly form of affection. You become the one nurturing the very soul that drains you. You call it love, yet it is the craft of darkness, making you believe that self-destruction is a sacred act. The enemy does not need to make you hate anyone. He only needs to make you love in the wrong way, to love without boundaries, to love until you forget me. For when you love without hearing, my voice that love ceases to be light. It becomes a tool of bondage. My child, true mercy does not tolerate toxicity. Real compassion liberates, it does not conceal. It does not cover what is wrong in the name of love. It brings it into the light so that it may be healed. When you stay silent in the face of harm, you are no longer merciful. You have become complicit. When you continue to endure contempt and call it love, you are allowing the enemy to build his throne within your own spiritual ground. Wherever love is twisted, there the enemy dwells. I want you to know that not everything soft is good and not everything firm is cruel. Sometimes gentleness is merely the mask of fear, and firmness is the truest expression of love. When I tell you to cut something off, it is not because I hate anyone, but because I love your soul more than your fleeting emotions. You think that walking away means failure, but sometimes leaving is the only way to save two souls from an endless cycle of pain. The enemy loves to whisper to you, if you truly care, you will forgive unconditionally. But my child, forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same. You may forgive without reopening the door because forgiveness is the act of one soul, while reconciliation requires two souls walking together in the light. If someone still chooses darkness, you are under no obligation to extend your hand. Forgiveness does not mean inviting evil back to your table. Forgiveness means returning judgment to me so that you may be free. My child, I see how the enemy uses your own compassion to make you doubt my voice. Each time I warn you, he whispers, "That isn't love. You're being too harsh. You should be more understanding." And so you silence. Me, continue to enable what is wrong and call it mercy. But mercy can never contradict truth. True mercy always stands with the justice of heaven. Compassion cannot be separated from discernment. Otherwise, it ceases to be compassion and becomes compromise. You once prayed, Lord, give me a merciful heart like yours, and I heard you. But my child, my merciful heart knows when to weep and when to close the door. I wept for Jerusalem, yet I also departed from that city. I loved my people, yet I let them wander through the wilderness to relearn reverence. Mercy is not about keeping everyone close. Mercy is about allowing my will to be fulfilled in their lives, even if that means letting them go. My child, guard your kindness as you would guard pure gold. Do not give it to those who would turn it into fuel for their own fire. Do not let compassion become the bridge for darkness to cross. When you love within me, you will know boundaries. But when you love outside of me, you will lose them and yourself. I do not wish for you to become hardened but wise, to know when to stop, when to speak, when to be silent, and when to withdraw. For love without wisdom is a lamp without oil, and mercy without discernment is a door without a lock. I know there are nights when you weep, believing you have failed because you could not save someone. But my child, I never sent you to be a savior. I called you to be a bearer of light. Light does not plead with darkness to change. It simply shines, and the darkness fades away on its own. Your only task is to keep your lamp burning. When you preserve your light, those who hunger for truth will find their way to it, while those who love the darkness will drift away. Do not give dogs what is holy. Do not throw your pearls before swine, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to attack you. Matthew 7:6. My child, this is not a harsh command, but a shield of heaven's protection. Your kindness is worth more than gold, and the love you carry within is a treasure infused with my own breath. Do not let this sacred treasure fall into the hands of those who seek only to dull its shine. I am teaching you a new way to love, a love that is whole yet not self-destructive, a compassion that is gentle yet guarded, a forgiveness that is generous yet discerning. And when you begin to grasp this truth, when you have the courage to say, "Enough, I will lift you out of the land of exploitation. I will pour healing oil upon the cracks in your heart, and I will show you that true love does not need to strain itself to survive. Real love knows when grace has completed its work and when it must stand firm for the sake of truth. My beloved child, from this day on, do not love out of fear of loss. Love from trust in me. For only when you learn to say no to what is wrong will your love be pure enough to say yes to what is right. Then the love you give will no longer be distorted, for it will be woven from light, discernment, and truth. My dear one, even the spiritual realm has boundaries. As the sea has its shore, as the sky has its horizon, as light has its line where darkness ends, everything I created bears divine limits to preserve order. Yet humanity, whether through naive goodness or the desperate longing to be loved, often crosses those sacred lines unaware. And in that moment, the soul becomes hollow, vulnerable, easily wounded, easily swayed, for it has opened a door I never asked it to open. I say to you today, learn again the holiness of boundaries, for they are the walls that guard your peace. Boundaries are not barriers to love. They are the framework that protects love from distortion. Love without boundaries soon becomes demand. Compassion without limits becomes dependency. Goodness without fences is trampled by unwise feet. I taught this to nature itself. The sea knows where to stop at the shore. The sun knows where to set. The wind knows to bow before the mountain. All creation knows its limits within me. Only humankind, when it forgets my voice, mistakes boundless love for love without wisdom. But even heaven has gates, and only those whom the Father calls by name may pass through. I have seen how often you are wounded because you did not set boundaries. You have given too much, listened too long, endured too deeply, trusted too quickly. You fear that saying no will make you seem cold, or keeping distance will make you appear proud. But my child, setting boundaries is not a lack of love. It is the act of one who knows the worth of love itself. When you know where enough lies, your love becomes pure. When you know where no belongs, your compassion becomes strong. Without boundaries, you will continue to be torn between kindness and exhaustion. And I, who know your soul, do not wish to see you drained by those who come without the intent to build. There are people who come into your life not to build, but to test. They come to see how much you can endure, to stretch your patience, to bend your boundaries. Each time you yield, they advance another step. Each time you stay silent, they take it as approval. But my child, I did not create you to be an unguarded field. You are my sacred garden, and every sacred garden needs a fence. Boundaries are a spiritual declaration that says, "This ground belongs to the Lord." When you fail to set boundaries, you unknowingly allow others to plant weeds in the soil of your soul, and then you wonder why the fruits of peace no longer grow as they once did. I gave you the pattern from the very beginning. In the Garden of Eden, I told Adam and Eve, "You may eat from every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." That was humanity's first boundary, not because I was withholding, but because I wanted to keep humankind within the safe zone of grace. Yet when the boundary was broken, chaos entered. In the same way, when you allow others to intrude into the sacred space meant for me, peace departs, and your soul becomes barren. Boundaries are proof of love and reverence. Whoever respects your boundaries is one who fears me, but whoever constantly tests your limits is one who challenges me. My child, I am not asking you to build walls to shut people out, but to raise fences of light. This is not isolation, it is spiritual discernment. Some people enter your space carrying cool breezes, kind words, and peace. These are those who resonate with my spirit. Yet others enter bringing heaviness, complaint, and demand. These are signs of energy-draining spirits. When you feel weary without knowing why, when a brief conversation leaves your soul diminished, you are witnessing the consequence of violated boundaries. I have taught you to sense these things, but you have called it being too sensitive. No, my child, it is sacred sensitivity, the divine ability to perceive when the atmosphere of your spirit is being polluted. When I said guard your heart above all else, I did not speak of fleeting emotions, but of spiritual vigilance. The heart is the wellspring of all life. If you fail to guard it, the flow of life will be drained. There are souls who know how to provoke another's weakness just to draw attention, who speak words that stir pity in order to maintain control. Do not let misplaced compassion rob you of discernment. You may love others, but not everyone is permitted to lay hands on your heart. Your heart is my altar, and only those whom I send with pure intent may step upon that holy ground. You once asked me, how can I know where my boundaries lie? I answered, your boundary begins where your peace starts to feel threatened. When you find yourself justifying your exhaustion, straining to sustain a connection, or defending someone's behavior, instead of praying for your own restoration, you have gone too far. A sacred boundary is the distance that allows you to love without losing yourself. You may reach out to lift another, but when the other hand only seeks to pull you down, you must release it. That is not abandonment, it is obedience to divine order. I also want you to remember that boundaries are not only between you and others, but also between you and yourself. There are times when you cross my boundaries in your own mind, when you try to control outcomes, when you worry over what I have already promised, when you attempt to rewrite my words with your own plans. That too is boundary violation, for it blurs my sovereignty in your life. My beloved, let me be God and you be the one who is loved. Only then will peace flow freely again. My dear ones, keep yourselves in the reverent fear of God and build a wall of faith around your souls. Reference Jude 1:2-0:21. Boundaries are not signs of coldness. They are the map of heaven etched within your spirit. When you dare to say no to what is not of me, you are saying yes to my will. When you bravely close an old door, you open a new one in grace. When you guard your peace, you are protecting the kingdom within you that I have entrusted to your care. And when you live within sacred boundaries, you will no longer need to strive to keep peace. Peace itself will find you and dwell with you. My beloved child, remember this. True love always honors boundaries, and true grace always flows within order. Darkness only enters where there is chaos, but where boundaries are clear, my spirit dwells. Therefore, stand firm with courage. Do not apologize for protecting your peace. Do not hesitate when separation is necessary, and do not fear loss when you say, enough. For boundaries are not the end of love. They are the beginning of pure and rightful love. A love no longer mixed with deceit, no longer manipulated, and no longer distorted. And when you learn this lesson, I will bring into your life new connections, souls who respect your light, who honor your sacred space, and who know how to love in truth. For this is the reward of those who live within the boundaries of light, where love and justice walk hand in hand, where peace no longer needs to defend itself, and where I, the God of boundaries and grace, dwell within your heart. My beloved, there will be moments when you stand at the crossroads looking up at the heavens and asking, "Why, Lord? Why did this happen? Why must I let go? Why must I lose?" But in my kingdom, faith is not born from answers, it is born from surrender. You do not need to know why to obey. You only need to know who is speaking to you. When you trust me, you no longer need to understand everything. To have peace for obedience itself is the key that unlocks peace. You once believed that peace comes when every question is answered, when every mystery is explained. Yet true peace does not dwell in the clarity of reason, but in the surrender of the soul. There are things I do not explain, not because I wish to hide them from you, but because the language of heaven cannot be fully translated into the anxious tongue of man. You seek explanation to feel safe, but I desire your obedience so you may learn to trust. For your safety does not come from understanding, it comes from my presence. I once tested Abraham in this very way. When I said, "Leave your country and go to the land I will show you," he did not ask where, how far, how long. He simply rose and went, and that single step opened the way for an entire nation to be blessed. Peace did not come before he understood. It came while he obeyed. Likewise, my child, I do not ask you to comprehend the whole path, only to trust the one who leads you. You are seeking security in the plan, but I want you to find security in the planner. There are seasons when you will hear nothing, feel nothing, see no sign at all. You may think I am silent, but I am teaching you the language of trust, a language only those who walk by faith can understand. For if everything were explained, faith would perish. Faith lives only when you dare to walk through the mist, believing the sun is still shining, though you cannot yet see it. I know this is hard. I have seen the nights when you prayed through tears, swallowing your unanswered questions. But if I were to answer every why, you would no longer need me. And I do not desire for you merely to have knowledge about me. I desire you to have relationship with me. Understand this, obedience is the language of love. Many may praise me with their lips, yet only those who obey truly believe. There are some who say, "Lord, I love you," but when I whisper, "Let go," they hesitate. True love is not an emotion spoken on the lips, but surrender expressed in action. When you obey while you do not yet understand, you proclaim that your love for me is greater than your need for control. And it is then that I can perform miracles, for miracles are unlocked in the space of trust, not in the comfort zone of reason. My child, obedience does not make you weak. It aligns you with divine purpose. When you surrender, you are not yielding to circumstance, you are yielding to grace. At times you may think I am taking something from you, but truly I am freeing you from what could destroy you. Like a father pulling his child away from the edge of a cliff, I must separate you from what you think is good in order to give you what is truly good. You call it loss, I call it rescue. Obedience does not mean you cannot ask questions. Yet when you ask, do so with faith, not with doubt. There are two kinds of questions in this world, one that rebels and one that seeks to understand. When you ask to know me more deeply, I am pleased. But when you ask to challenge my wisdom, you step outside the shelter of grace. So when you do not understand, say, Lord, I do not understand, but I trust you. That very declaration makes darkness tremble, for it knows you have chosen faith over fear. My beloved, there are words I have spoken to you, whose results you do not yet see. That is, to test whether you trust my word or your own timing. When I say wait, it is not delay, it is preparation. When I say be still, it is not neglect, it is protection. When I say go, it is not risk, it is release. You will see that every act of obedience does more than change your circumstances. It transforms the inner architecture of your soul. Obedience is the quiet yet powerful process of transformation, unseen yet steadfast, slow yet sure. My beloved child, you once prayed for peace, but peace does not come when I silence every storm around you. It comes when I teach you to rest amid the storm. Peace is not the result of understanding, it is the sweet fruit of trust. You have sought peace in people, in praise, in outcomes, and you have been disappointed. Now I invite you to find peace in surrender. When you say yes to me, the storm within you will calm, for storms only rage when you row against the wind of my spirit. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition. With thanksgiving present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds. Philippians 4:6-7. My child, true peace needs no explanation. It rises above every answer, every analysis, every defense. It does not come when you understand the plan, but when you trust the one who holds it. When you surrender, you step out of the labyrinth of questions and into the wide field of freedom. When you stop asking why, another voice will echo within, I am here, and that alone is enough to keep you standing. Obedience never takes away what is real. It only removes what is false. Those things built on emotion, self-will, and fear. When you obey, you are not diminished, you are expanded. When you obey, you do not lose. You are positioned for blessing. Obedience is the only road that leads to true peace, for where obedience abides, my will and your soul become one. Therefore, my child, ask no longer why. Ask instead, what must I do to yield? And when you do, you will witness something wondrous. The things you once feared losing will lose their power. The things that once unsettled you will fade away, and within your spirit a vast brightness will open, where peace is no longer a dream, but a living reality. My beloved, peace does not come when you understand, but when you believe. For in my kingdom the free are not those who know everything, but those who obey completely. So release what you've been clinging to and whisper within your heart, Lord, I do not need to know it all. I only need to know that you are here. And when you speak those words, peace will come like the first breath of morning, gentle, pure, yet strong enough to alter the course of your life. My beloved child, there are things that must be severed before healing can begin. You cannot bind a wound that still holds debris, just as you cannot heal a soul that clings to what keeps it bleeding. You have asked me for healing, but I cannot pour oil upon a wound still caked with the ashes of the past. You long to feel light, yet you hold tightly to what weighs you down. You desire freedom, yet you fear losing the chains that have become familiar. My child, I cannot heal what you insist on protecting. Cutting away is an act of faith, not of bitterness. It does not spring from anger, but from awakening, when you realize that what once brought warmth has become cold ash. You cannot keep cradling ashes and expect the flame to return. Severing is not cruelty. It is sacred surgery. where I, the physician of your soul, place the blade precisely to remove what causes your pain. I know that blade makes you tremble, but my child, what I cut away is not you, it is what has been killing you. When you let go of ties that have decayed, you will feel pain. That pain is real, and I do not deny it. But remember this, the pain of liberation is not the pain of captivity. One is the ache of healing, the other is the agony of infection. You have grown so accustomed to your chains that you call them stability. You have confused bondage with love. But now I speak to you, it is time to cut the cords so that the lifeblood of your spirit may flow freely again. You have often prayed, Lord, heal me, yet when I begin to dismantle you, cry, don't touch that. My child, healing cannot come while you still clutch what I am trying to remove. There are memories, faces, voices you still call mine, yet they are only scars that never closed. You touch them and they bleed. You recall them and they throb. You cannot step into the new while you are still bleeding in silence. But today I come to sever the tie between you and that pain, not to erase your past, but to free you from its power. Cutting off is the first step in restoring your spiritual space. When you remove what is wrong, you are inviting what is right to enter. When you let go of someone who does not belong to you, you are making room for the one I have sent. When you silence the voices of chaos, you will once again hear mine, the voice of life. You think that holding on is a sign of faithfulness, but true faithfulness is not clinging to what I have told you to leave behind. It is obeying when I say, that's enough. My child, cutting off is not merely an outward action. It is an inner battle. Your soul will wrestle between memory and revelation, between emotion and truth. The enemy will whisper, if you leave, you will lose everything. But I say, if you stay, you will lose yourself. I did not create you to survive on someone else's breath. You have your own breath, your own calling, your own path, your own light. No one, no matter how close they once were, has the right to hold your heart captive. Only I do. When I begin to cut, you will find yourself entering a season of emptiness. No more messages, no more calls, no more routines tied to that person. You will feel hollow, as if a part of you has been torn away. But my child, that emptiness is not a punishment. It is the space where light will fill. It is the soil where peace will sprout like tender shoots after the rain. Do not rush to fill it with replacements. Do not go back just because you fear loneliness. Leave it empty, for in that very emptiness I will plant healing. Remember, not every bond is woven by love. Some are spun from fear, emotional debt, and false guilt. You feel compassion for them, and mistake that compassion for a divine calling. But my child, if compassion costs you your peace, it is not a calling, it is a chain. The enemy loves to hide behind pity. He whispers, you must stay, or they will suffer. But I ask you, who made you the Redeemer? You are called to love, not to save. You are invited to intercede, not to be crucified in their place. When I teach you to cut off, I am teaching you to honor the sacred boundary between yourself and others. You can love without dissolving, forgive without permitting repetition, bless from afar without reopening the door. That is mature love. Love no longer distorted by emotion, but governed by the Spirit. And when you live this way, you will realize that cutting off does not destroy love. It refines it. It removes the weak parts and leaves the pure. It burns away illusion to reveal truth. I am the potter, and you are the clay. I will break off the cracked part and reshape it into perfection. Confer Jeremiah 1:8-6. Imagine this in. My hands cutting off is not destruction but reformation. I break not to discard but to reshape you into the image of heaven. You will see that with every release an old fragment of you falls away and a truer self emerges. Cutting off does not make you smaller. It makes you clearer about me, about yourself, and about the worth of your soul. My beloved child, do not fear the sound of the snap when the cord breaks. For right after that sound I hear your soul exhale in freedom. Every tear you shed in obedience I keep in my bottle. Every step you take away from the old I walk beside you. And one day when you look back you will smile and say, "So that break was the beginning of my healing." Cut to be healed, that is heaven's paradox, where loss becomes grace and pain becomes miracle. Just as the vine must be pruned to bear more fruit, your soul must pass through seasons of cutting to blossom in peace. And when that process is complete, you will no longer tremble when you hear me say, "Let go," because you will know behind every release I am preparing a better beginning. My child, I am healing you not by erasing the past, but by stripping it of its power. You will remember, but the memory will no longer hurt. You will see, but the image will no longer bind. You will speak, but your words will carry peace. For in me every wound becomes a testimony. My beloved child, when you finally cut yourself free from what once bound you, a strange silence will settle over your soul. The daily messages will cease, the false embraces will vanish, and the attachments that made you forget yourself will loosen their hold. And in that empty space you will begin to hear what you could never hear before, the sigh of your own heart. It is weary, yet it is now beginning to awaken. But my child, I know this, the first taste of freedom always comes with pain. You thought that letting go would bring instant relief. But freedom is not a gentle breeze gliding through an open field. It is a fierce wind that uproots what has clung too long to the soil. When you step out, your soul will not yet know how to dwell in silence. You will look around and see no one. You will pray, but the heavens may seem still. You will think I have departed, but no, my child. I am there within the very silence that frightens you. The loneliness you feel is not punishment. It is a sacred operating room where I, the potter, am reshaping your heart with my own hands. I have seen your heart torn apart and patched together with fragments of others. You used apologies to mend it, longing to glue it, endurance to keep it from breaking. But now, I long to replace that heart with a new one no longer dependent, no longer afraid of loss, no longer needing another to feel whole. That is why you must walk through this season of solitude, so that I may do the work no one else can do. My child, loneliness in me is not emptiness, it is silence filled with presence. You will begin to hear my voice in every breath, in every ray of morning light, in the whisper of the wind, brushing against the curtain. I do not need thunder to speak. I choose the language of stillness, for it is the language of healing. When you are alone, every disguise falls away. You no longer need to pretend strength or prove you are fine. You need only to be true before me, and in that truth I can touch the deepest part of your soul, the place no human hand has ever reached. The loneliness that follows release does not last forever. It is only the in-between season where the old fades and the new has yet to bloom. But my child, every seed must endure solitude in the soil before it blossoms. When you feel buried, you are being planted. When you cannot see the light, I am shielding you from the poisonous winds. When you think you've been forgotten, I am hiding you in the secret place, so your identity can form without the noise of the world intruding. I know there are nights when you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, asking, "Did I do the right thing?" And your heart answers, "If it was right, why does it hurt so much?" My child, pain is not the sign of error, it is the proof of life. Only what lives can feel pain. A soul dead in bondage feels nothing, but a soul being revived trembles at every shift. This pain is not here to punish, it comes to awaken. It teaches you to discern the true call from the echo of the past, the love that comes from me, from the pull that comes from memory. You still look back at times with a trace of longing, a hint of ache. I do not rebuke you for that. I understand, for I made you with a heart that knows how to love and attach deeply. but I also placed within you the power to heal. Every tear you shed I gather in my bottle. Every time you choose not to return, heaven rejoices, for that is the evidence that you are learning to love me more than your emotions. And when you love me first, everything else will fall into its rightful place. You may feel lonely in the middle of the night, but I am whispering in the dark. My child, I am rebuilding you. I am shaping you as a potter molds clay, pressing, turning, stretching, and then releasing, so that you may take form under the breath of the Holy Spirit. Every crack you once feared, I am filling with the gold of grace. And one day, when you look back, you will see that those very cracks made you more beautiful, for my light shines through the places where you were once broken. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 2:9-11. My child, this loneliness is the cradle of hope. Do not rush to escape it too soon. Many try to fill the emptiness with a new person, a new habit, or a fleeting pleasure, but they are only covering a wound that has not yet healed. Do not be like them. Let the emptiness do its work, for it is within that quiet space that I am teaching you to discern my voice from the voice of others. Once you learn this, you will never lose your way again, whether you walk among crowds or stand in the wilderness. I do not promise that this journey will be easy, but I promise it will be worth it. You will emerge from this season of solitude with a heart no longer trembling in fear of loss, no longer striving to prove its worth, no longer clinging to indifferent hands. You will love without fear of being hurt, give without needing return, because you will have learned that true love does not come from people. It flows from me, the eternal source. And when the light rises within your soul, you will understand the freedom that once caused you pain was in fact the greatest gift I could give. You will know that no matter what you have lost, you have never lost me. You will stand in the dawn of a new day, calm in spirit, eyes shining, and whisper, "Now I understand, Lord. Loneliness did not destroy me, it saved me. For my beloved, loneliness in me is not desolation, it is rebirth. It is the season in which the soul is refined, sanctified, and stripped of the dust that has clung through the years. And when that holy work is complete, you will rise not carrying the scent of ashes, but the fragrance of peace, the aroma of one who has walked through the night with the lamp still burning in their hand. My precious child, every time you hear the sound of something closing, you think of loss. You see a door shut and believe the story has ended. But in my kingdom, every closed door is the beginning of a greater one being opened. You see the handle turn tight, but I see the corridor of light beyond it. You weep beside the old door, while my angels are laying down a carpet of jewels before the new one. Do you know, my child, when I close a door, it is never punishment. I am only cutting away what no longer aligns with the light you carry. Some things were good in the past season, but if you hold on to them in the new one, they become burdens. Some people were blessings, but now they are no longer companions. Some places were shelters, but have now become prisons. And because you could not bear to leave on your own, I closed the door, for you not to deprive, but to protect. When the old door shuts, you will hear the click of the latch, and your heart will tremble. You will ask, "Have I lost everything?" But my child, I never take away anything without intending to replace it with something greater. The sound of a closing door is merely the echo of grace approaching. You may not understand immediately. You may feel empty, uncertain. But trust me that emptiness is the atmosphere of rebirth. Behold, I have set before you an open door that no one can shut. Revelation 3:8. I have prepared another door not built of wood but of light. This door does not open by human hands but by your obedience. Each time you choose faith over fear, each time you choose to step forward, instead of hesitating, the hinges turn. And then when you lift your eyes, you will see a new corridor where the light no longer flickers, where my voice becomes clear, and where you will know that you are standing in the very center of my divine plan. My child, do not cling to the doors I have closed. Do not keep knocking where I have placed the bolt. It is not because I do not want you to enter, but because I am no longer there. My presence never remains in the old place. It always moves forward. When you linger too long beside a closed door, you will miss the call from the one that is opening. I did not create you to live in the past, but to step into destiny. There are doors that close gently, like a leaf falling from a branch at the end of autumn. Yet there are others that shut with force, startling you awake. Both are miracles. For sometimes I must close one loudly, so that you awaken and stop holding on to what has become only a memory. You call it loss, but I call it release. You call it an ending, but I call it transition. You think I am taking away, yet I am only relocating the blessing. My child, blessings do not always appear in familiar forms. Sometimes they come disguised as isolation, as a closed door, as a season of silence. But when I open the new door, you will understand that it was all a process of refinement. Loss made you humble. Solitude taught you deeper prayer. Pain purified your love. And when I open the door, you will enter with a new heart, free from the dust of the old. The doors of heaven are not like the doors of men. They do not open through power, connection, or striving. They open only to obedience and trust. When you choose to let go, I open. When you choose to believe, I lead. When you choose to step, I make the ground beneath your feet firm, and you will realize that the key to every door is not in your hand, but in your heart. My child, the door of heaven is a door of light, but not everyone sees it. To see it, your eyes must be washed with the tears of surrender. When your heart softens, when you allow me to guide you, the clouds will part, and that door will appear, not far, not late, simply waiting for you to dare to walk through. You need not pound on it. I have already opened it. You only need to leave the old threshold behind. When you cross over, you will feel a different wind, a new atmosphere, a new sound. No longer the footsteps of those who exploited you, no longer the scent of past ashes. Here the air is filled with my presence. You will find that peace is no longer something to seek, but something that surrounds you. Every fear will dissolve like morning mist. You will understand that I never abandoned you. I was waiting for you to arrive at the right door. You will see that the years of closed doors were not wasted time, but planting time. I have sown faith, patience, discernment, and gratitude into your soul, and now as the door of heaven opens, those seeds will sprout into fruits of blessing. You will meet those who speak the language of your soul, those who come not to take but to build with you. You will step into a realm where every promise I have spoken begins to take form. My beloved child, do not fear the sound of the old latch closing behind you. Listen instead for another sound, the door of heaven opening ahead. A sound not harsh but soft as wind, bright as dawn. You have walked through the season of tears. Now is the season of light. You have left behind the ashes. Now it is time to walk on the promised ground of peace. My child, I say to you, do not mourn the past. Every closed door is written into the perfect design of heaven. I am not merely leading you to a new place. I am leading you back to yourself, the version I saw from the beginning, whole, radiant, and free. And when you stand before the door of heaven, I will say, my child, come in. Everything you once lost, I will restore in light. When you step through, you will not hear weeping, but singing. No more ashes, only fragrance. No more fear, only confidence. For my beloved, the door of heaven always stands open for those who have released their grip on the handle of the past. My beloved child, after a long rain, the earth seems still. No more thunder, no more lightning, only a pale gray sky. You think nothing has changed, that all remains the same. But my child, that is the very first moment of a new season, a moment that appears quiet on the surface, yet within the soil, seeds are breaking open. Silently, secretly, without display, they carry the pulse of new life, life that only I can see. The new season never begins with the sound of trumpets. It begins with the quieting of the soul. You no longer need to strain to be strong nor run from pain. One morning you simply realize you have awakened without thinking of the one who left, without feeling heavy when an old melody plays. No one announces it to you, but your spirit knows the storm has passed and light is returning. The first signs of a new season do not lie in grand events, but in sacred details. You begin to feel peace, where once you felt emptiness. You smile at the sunrise without needing a reason. You hear the birds sing and realize that your heart no longer tightens but opens to receive life. That is the first sign. My child, the rhythm of your heart is returning to the cadence of heaven. I know that after many heartbreaks you fear joy. You fear that if you laugh, something will come and take it away. But I tell you this, when I restore, I do not do it halfway. What I rebuild, no one can tear down. Your new season will not resemble the old one, for the roots have changed. You no longer seek peace in people or circumstances. You find it in my presence. And that is the greatest mark of rebirth, when the peace within you becomes greater than the noise around you. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth, do you not perceive it? Isaiah 4:3-19, My beloved, I am making all things new, not outside you, but within you. The new season does not begin when your surroundings shift. It begins when your spirit changes direction. When you stop asking, why did this happen? And begin to ask, Lord, what are you teaching me? The new season has already begun to sprout. When you cease pleading for the old to return and start giving thanks for the unseen new, your sky has already changed color. You may not yet see great miracles, but you will sense the atmosphere softening. The space around you feels lighter, your thoughts clearer, your words warmer. You will find yourself drawn to things that build, to people whose hearts beat in rhythm with yours. That is me, rearranging the network around you. I am changing the frequency of your soul so that the old, the negative, and the false can no longer resonate. You do not need to chase them away. They will simply fall away, for they no longer align with the new light you carry. The new season has its own sound, not loud but pure. The voice within you becomes distinct, no longer mixed with whispers of doubt. My word in you will sound gentle yet powerful. Do not fear, I am working. And each time you choose to believe, that voice will grow clearer. Your soul is being tuned to the frequency of heaven, the voice that does not rise from fear, but from peace. Sometimes the signs of the new season come through new people. They are not perfect, but they carry light. They speak words I have whispered to you in silence, as though I borrow their lips to confirm what your heart has sensed. They do not make you strive, they make you feel at rest. That is how I let you know the time of transition has truly come. My child, I want you to understand this deeply. The blessings of a new season do not always burst forth in brilliance. They arrive gently like dew soaking into dry ground. Sometimes they come as a small opportunity, a brief conversation, a sudden inspiration. But if you keep your spirit attuned, you will recognize that none of it is random. It is my way of preparing the path ahead. I am teaching you a new rhythm of life, slow yet deep, quiet yet strong. You need not rush. The new season does not come to the swift, but to the ones who listen. Those who pause will see me passing by. Those who wait will be renewed. And when you move in my rhythm, you will realize that what I am doing in you matters more than what I am doing around you. Pay attention to the little things, my beloved. When gratitude rises in your heart for no reason, that is a sign. When forgiveness flows more easily, that is a sign. When you no longer seek others to affirm your worth, that is a sign. When you feel peace in places that once made you tremble, that too is a sign. It is the Holy Spirit renewing your soul day by day. And then one morning so ordinary, you will awaken, open your window, and realize that the light no longer stings your eyes. The sky will seem bluer, the birdsong brighter, and within you a quiet warmth will whisper, "I've made it through." No trumpet, no dazzling miracle, only a sacred stillness where you know I have restored you. The new season does not come to make you forget the old one, but to let you bring the lessons of the past into the light of the new. You will no longer despise what once hurt you, for you will understand that it was the very thing that taught you to hear my voice. You will no longer fear the darkness, for you will know it was only the backdrop for a greater light. You will walk forward without looking back because your heart has been set toward what lies ahead. My child, enjoy this season. Do not be afraid of its goodness. You no longer need to brace yourself for something bad to happen. Let joy remain. Let peace dwell within. Allow me to keep opening small doors, simple miracles, until you realize that the new season did not just arrive, it has been within you all along. My beloved one, some wounds do not live in the flesh, but in memory. They do not bleed outwardly, yet they seep drop by drop within the soul each time you remember. There are nights when you think you have forgotten, but one sound, one image, one name, and the old wound opens again. You have let go of the person, yet the memory of them still holds you. You move forward, but the past walks beside you. And there, right in that place, I desire to perform a deeper miracle, the miracle of healing memory. For I do not merely mend your heart, I redirect your remembrance, so that each time you look back, you no longer see tears, but the light of redemption. I have seen you pray to forget. You thought forgetting was the only way to be free. But my child, I did not come to erase your memory. I came to transform it into testimony. If I made you forget, you would lose the evidence of my power. But when I heal your memory, you carry within you a lamp not of pain but of understanding. Memory then ceases to be a chain. It becomes the proof of a love that triumphed. When I begin to touch your memories, you will see the old things rise again. You will hear the voice that once made you tremble, see the face that once made you ache. But do not fear, my child. I do not bring the past back to wound you, but to release it from the pain buried within it. Every memory brought into the light is a shadow made holy by my presence. You once avoided them, but now I ask you to look again, not through the eyes of hurt, but through the lens of grace. My child, I do not stand on the far side of your pain waiting for you to cross. I am within it, walking through it with you. When you recall the moments of betrayal, rejection, or misunderstanding, I want you to know that I was there. You thought you were alone, but in every tear, my hand rested on your shoulder. There were times you asked, "Where were you when I fell apart?" And today I answer, I was right beside you, keeping you from falling forever. If I had not been there, you would not have stood long enough to ask that question. Every painful memory is not proof of my absence, but the mark of my silent presence. My child, memory is not meant for cursing, but for proving that darkness could not overcome the light. Look back not to recall the sins of others, but to see how my power turned evil into good. Like Joseph in the prison cell, betrayed by his brothers, yet later saying, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Genesis 5:0-20. So shall you one day say the same, not with bitterness, but with the peace of the restored. You may ask, how can I forgive when the wound is too deep? My beloved, forgiveness is not forgetting. It is placing the memory in my hands. Forgiveness does not require you to deny your pain. It allows me to rewrite its meaning. You cannot change what happened, but I can change how you see it. When I enter your memory, I do not erase what was, but I cleanse it of its poison. You will still remember, but the sting will be gone. You will still see the face, but it will no longer have power over you. I know there are images you hold on to as warnings. Don't let yourself be hurt again. But my beloved, the walls built from fear will also keep true love from drawing near. I long to remove each brick of that wall and replace it with the gate of faith. For only when memory is healed can you learn to trust again. I do not want you to live in constant vigilance. I want you to live freely in trust. To trust again after being wounded is the journey of inner resurrection. For faith is not only about believing in me, but believing that I can teach your heart to love again even after it has been shattered. My beloved, the love I am about to plant within you will not resemble the old love. It will not burn bright and fade away. It will be steady and pure like the flame upon the altar that no wind can extinguish. Yet to receive that love you must let me cleanse your memories, for no one can pour new wine into old wineskins without them tearing. You will forget your misery. You will remember it as waters that have passed away. Job 1:1-6. When I say you will remember it as waters that have passed, I do not mean that you must erase your memory. I mean that you will look back without trembling. The event remains, but the feeling changes. Where once there was a wound, now there is a radiant scar, the mark of where grace has touched you. The one who once made you weep is now only a witness to the journey I have walked beside you. I am teaching you how to turn memory into living testimony. When you tell your story not as a victim but as one who has been redeemed, your soul is lifted higher. Each time you speak, I strengthen you so that others may hear and find hope. What once brought you shame will become a source of encouragement to others. Every healed memory becomes a stone in the temple. I am building within you a place where those who are lost may find light. My child, I allow no pain to be meaningless. Even the nights you cried alone, I have gathered them to weave into a testimony for days to come. A memory that has been cleansed no longer burdens you. It bears witness to my power to restore. And when you recount it with gratitude, the memory will no longer ache, it will sing. So do not fear when old memories return. Invite me in. Let me walk with you through those dim corridors, for wherever I go, darkness must retreat. You will see every fragment gathered, every image washed clean, every cry transformed into a song. Then you will rise, look forward, and realize I have not only healed your heart, I have renewed your faith. A faith no longer trembling but steadfast, no longer defined by others but grounded in me, the one who never changes. My beloved, I speak to you today. Your memories no longer belong to pain but to grace. You are no longer the story of loss but the song of restoration. Remember this: where you once bled, I will cause living water to flow. And from the place where you were brought low, I will raise you up as a witness of my love. A love that crowns ashes with glory, turns tears into light, and teaches old memories to sing the melody of a new season. Beloved child of mine, after the storms have passed, after you have wept, released, endured, and been healed, I now desire to teach you a deeper lesson, the lesson of grace. For all this time you believed that blessing comes through effort, that you must do more, try harder, prove yourself worthy of what I give. But my beloved, I tell you now, it is time for grace to replace striving. It is time to stop chasing love and let love itself surround you. You have lived too long by calculation. If I do well enough, God will be pleased. If I stay strong enough, He will not leave me. But my child, my love cannot be purchased by perfection. It is given through trust. There is nothing you can do to make me love you more, and nothing you can do to make me love you less. I love you not because you do right, but because you are mine. That love does not shift with your actions. It stands firm like a rock in the midst of the sea. Grace does not come from striving, but from surrendering in trust. When you stop straining to please me, that is when you truly begin to hear my voice. When you stop running, I can draw near. My child, I do not seek your perfection, I seek your surrender. For wherever your own strength ends, there my power begins to work. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 1:9. My beloved one, you have grown so accustomed to fighting alone that you have mistaken rest for weakness. You think that if you stop trying, everything will collapse. But I ask you, who has held everything together until now? Was it not my hand rather than yours? You are only called to follow. I am the one who sustains. Grace means you no longer have to strain to keep your peace, for peace is already within you. You only need to pause long enough to feel it. I know you have lived in an environment that taught you your worth is measured by how much you achieve, how many you help, how much you can endure. You have turned your spiritual journey into a silent competition. You pray with the pressure to get it right and love others with the fear of not enough. But my child, I never asked you to become better so that I could love you. I simply said, abide in me, for when you are in me, you already have everything. Grace is not a reward for the righteous. It is the breath of the weary. It is not given to the perfect, but to those who dare to admit they cannot do it on their own. Grace comes when you let go, when you kneel and whisper, Lord, I've done all I can. Please take over. And in that very moment, heaven begins to move, not because you deserve it, but because you trust. When you live in grace, you will witness a wondrous transformation. You will work without exhaustion, love without fear of loss, and give without feeling empty. For then you are no longer drawing from your own well, but drinking from my endless spring. Every action will flow not from fear, but from peace. You will no longer strive to be accepted. You will act because you are already accepted. You will no longer pray to prove your faith. You will pray because you dwell within faith itself. I am not asking you to stop doing. I am asking you to stop striving in your own strength. When I say rest, I do not call you to laziness, but to lay down the burdens you were never meant to carry. When you hand them over, I carry them for you. When you step back, I step forward. When you are weak, I am strong. And when you believe, everything begins to align in ways you could never arrange yourself. You once asked, if I stop trying, will I lose my chance? My child, you cannot lose what I have ordained for you. Every true blessing does not come because you fought for it, but because I gave it in its appointed time. Every door opened by grace will stand firm, but the doors forced open by your own strength will soon fall. Remember, grace is not only forgiveness for the past, it is the power to live fully in the present. Grace is not loud, yet it carries extraordinary strength. It allows you to pause amid the storm and still feel peace. It helps you work without heaviness. It enables you to forgive without needing a reason. It lets you smile even while your tears are not yet dry. Grace is the underground river flowing through your soul, nourishing you even when the surface seems barren. And I, my child, am the source of that river. If you look closely, you will see that signs of grace have been surrounding you all along. It was grace that kept you standing when everything else fell apart. It was grace that helped you pray when you had no strength left. It was grace that whispered, keep believing, when you were about to give up. That was not your willpower. It was my hand holding you steady. You thought you were enduring, but in truth I was keeping you from falling. My beloved, let grace become your new rhythm. Stop trying to make me pleased and start living from the place I have already made you whole. You are not someone striving to be accepted. You are one already accepted, learning to live worthy of that truth. When you understand this, you will no longer pray with tension but with rest, no longer serve with burden but with joy. And when you live in grace, blessings will find their way to you, not with noise or display, but as naturally as breath. Doors will open without your knocking. Opportunities will arrive without your chasing. Peace will overflow without your striving. For in my kingdom, rest is the highest act of faith. My beloved child, let me teach you the art of rest, resting in love, resting in trust, resting in grace. For when you truly rest, I truly work. And when I work, you will see that blessings no longer come through effort but through the flow of grace, the flow that never runs dry forever, streaming from my heart into the depths of your soul. My beloved one, after you have understood that blessings come not from striving but from grace, I now desire to teach you something deeper, the art of resting within the flow of grace. For many know that grace exists, but few know how to live in its rhythm. They believe grace is a gift, yet still live as if everything must be held together by their own strength. They speak of peace, yet their hearts race with fear of loss. But I do not only want to give you grace, I want to teach you to live in it as you breathe. Beloved, the flow of grace is unlike the rivers of this world. It is not loud or violent, but steady, gentle, and unending. Those who step in will feel its uplifting ease like the wind. Those who resist will feel weary after only a short distance. Grace does not push you forward by force, it leads you through the quiet strength of peace. When you are anxious, you are rowing against the current, but when you release the oars of worry, you begin to drift in the direction of the Holy Spirit. I know you have long lived amidst the noise of your own thoughts, the whisper of the mind saying, "What must I do next? If I don't act, everything will fall apart." But my child, the Spirit does not work in noise. He moves in the stillness where the heart ceases its inner argument. When you rest, you are not abandoning the battle. You are changing sides, allowing me to fight for you. There are battles that can only be won when you stop striving and say, "Lord, I will row no more. Take my boat where you will. Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 4:6-1-0. Do you see, my child? This is not merely a word of comfort, it is a spiritual strategy. Be still does not mean to cease existing, but to cease controlling. Know that I am God means to acknowledge that you no longer need to act in my place. For when you worry, you are secretly saying that you trust yourself more than me. But when you rest, you are proclaiming that I am great enough to hold the world together without your grasp. Beloved, there are two kinds of rest, the rest of the body and the rest of the soul. The rest of the body is when you stop working, but the rest of the soul is when you stop resisting my will. Many lie down, yet their minds still spin, their hearts still race, for they have not truly rested. But when you rest in me, you will feel a peace so deep no words can describe. It is not an escape from life, but an entrance into the very center of the Spirit where every motion moves in harmony with His rhythm. I know you have feared that if you stop controlling, everything will fall apart. You think you must calculate, keep everyone together, protect your image, and secure the outcome. But, my child, anxiety is proof that you are carrying what was never yours to bear. When you believe that I am the shepherd, you no longer need to watch every direction to guard the flock. When you place me at the center, everything else finds its rightful place. Look at the water. My child, it does not strain to flow, does not argue with rocks, does not ask, "Will I have enough?" It simply flows, knowing the source above still pours. So it is with you, you do not need to strive to continue. You only need to remain in the flow of grace. And when you do that, current will carry you exactly where I have destined, even when you cannot see the path. The difference between those who believe and those who doubt is not whether they have water, but whether they dare to let go and float upon it. Resting in grace does not mean being passive. It means acting from a place of peace. You still work, but without tension. You still love, but without depletion. You still plan, but you do not panic when things change. You do everything as a sower who knows the heavens will send rain in due time. And that very trust is the sign that you are living in rhythm with the Holy Spirit, a rhythm that neither rushes nor delays, but always arrives right on time. My child, I want you to understand that this rest is not a reward after completion, but the condition for beginning. Every work blessed by me begins from a state of rest. When I created the world, humanity's first day was not a day of labor, but a day of rest. For I wanted them to understand that work flows from wholeness, not toward it. You do not labor to be loved. You act because you are already loved. You do not strive to enter grace. You simply awaken to the truth that you already dwell in it. For whoever enters God's rest has also rested from his works just as God did from his. Hebrews 4:10. Learn from my rest, beloved one. When I rested, it was not because I was weary, but because everything was complete. When you rest in me, you are declaring that I have finished the work. Worry makes you live as if the blessing is unfinished. But grace reminds you that everything needed for your life was prepared before you were born. You have only to walk forward like one strolling through a garden already planted, not to possess but to delight. My child, there will be days when the wind seems to blow against you, when your steps feel slowed. Do not fear. The current of grace never stops. Sometimes it only shifts direction to steer you away from hidden rocks. If you find yourself at a pause, understand that I am protecting you from what you cannot yet see. Even the stillness is part of the divine rhythm. Do not call it delay, call it alignment. I speak this gently yet firmly. Let peace become your standard. If something steals your peace, it is not from me. If something stirs confusion in your soul, stop and ask, am I resisting the flow of grace? For where my spirit is, there is freedom. Freedom from fear, from pressure, from the need to prove. And when you live in that freedom, you will see your life begin to move in harmony with heaven's design, not by striving, not by control, but with effortless fruitfulness. My beloved child, rest is not a destination. It is a state of being. Let your heart be like a boat floating on the river of grace, steady, gentle, and safe. I am the water that surrounds you. You cannot leave me, nor can you exhaust me. When you surrender to this flow, you will see, without striving, you are carried exactly where you need to be. Without fighting, you still receive your portion. Without fearing loss, you will realize grace is always enough, yesterday, today, and forever. Now, my beloved one, as every chain has been broken, as your soul has passed through fire, through water, through the dark night, and found rest in grace, I speak this over you. This is the season when your true self will be revealed. No longer covered by fear, no longer defined by wounds, no longer controlled by old attachments, but you, as I formed you in my heart before the foundations of the world. All this time you have lived only a fragment of yourself, the part shaped by expectations, judgments, and words that made you doubt your worth. You have worn many masks, one to be accepted, one to be loved, one to stay unhurt. You learn to live to please others rather than to be true to the spirit I placed within you. But as you are set free, every disguise begins to fall away. Like a seed breaking through its hard shell, your soul rises from the soil, reaching toward the light where it has always belonged. Your true self is not the image the world has built, but the essence into which I breathed life. Within you lies the harmony of power and gentleness, strength and compassion, fire and water. You do not have to choose between being bold or kind, resolute or humble, for I created you to carry both. You are the mirror of my nature, a unique expression of creative love. And when you walk in that truth, the entire universe will respond, for the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Romans 8:1-9. Do you see, my child? All of creation is waiting not for the you of the past, not for the you shaped by fear, but for the you of light. Every time you live in alignment with your true soul, the world around you begins to rebalance. When you walk in truth, darkness retreats. When you speak from freedom, the chains of others begin to break. You were not set free merely for yourself. You were freed to bring freedom to others. But my beloved child, before your true self could be revealed, I led you through the fire of refinement, where the old self was stripped away, and every false voice within you was silenced. For if your true self had emerged too soon, it would have been distorted by the desire for recognition. So I allowed you to walk through loneliness, to live unseen, unheard, and uncelebrated. That was not abandonment, but preparation. I was teaching you that your worth does not lie in applause, but in the gaze of my eyes upon you. My child, now you are entering the season of unveiling, not to the world, but to yourself. You will begin to see who you truly are, stronger than you thought, deeper than you believed, and more loved than you ever felt. You will discover the gifts, the grace, and the calling I planted in you from the beginning, now rising like seeds meeting the rain. You will understand that every break, every wound, was carving the shape of the glory I intended to reveal through you. I declare to you, this is the time when I take what the enemy meant for harm and turn it into the foundation of your calling. Where you were humiliated, I will lift you up. Where you were rejected, I will make you accepted. Where you wept, I will make you sing. Yet you will sing not to be heard, but to honor the one who turns ashes into crowns. Your true self needs no proof. It shines naturally, as the sun never strives to shine, it simply is. My child, when I reveal your true self, some will no longer recognize you, for the light you now carry will no longer match the darkness they live in. They will say you have changed, but in truth you have simply come home to yourself. Do not fear this change, for it is not loss, it is restoration. As you walk in truth, you will see who truly belongs to your journey, and who was only a shadow from the previous chapter. Every unveiling brings separation, but separation refines and clarifies, freeing you from what no longer belongs to you. My child, your true self is destined to reflect me in a world filled with falsehood. When others choose compromise, you will choose truth. When others chase noise, you will seek stillness. When others hunger for power, you will pursue my heart, and that is what sets you apart. I do not need you to be loud, I need you to be real. For when you live in authenticity, I will do the rest. Light never needs advertisement, it only needs to be turned on. My dear one, your true self is not born from striving, but from abiding in me. Each time you rest in my love, your essence awakens. When you stop trying to become someone, you begin to live as who you are. And that is when spiritual power is released. You will speak less, but your words will carry weight. You will do less, but your works will multiply. You will no longer need to prove yourself, for your very presence will speak enough. That is the mark of the genuine. They do not struggle to exist because they are flowing in the stream of destiny. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:1-4. My child, no one can hide the light I have ignited within you. It may be covered by tears, but it cannot be extinguished. It may be clouded by misunderstanding, but it cannot be lost. When your true self arises, the darkness around will tremble, for that light cannot be controlled. Do not fear your own radiance, nor shrink to make others comfortable. Let me shine through you, so that the world may see there is a living God within your soul. And my beloved, when your true self is revealed, the harvest begins, not merely the harvest of blessings, but of souls. Those touched by the truth you live will be drawn to the light you reflect. You will not need to seek influence, for influence will seek you. You will not need to strive to be heard, for a voice born of truth can never be silenced. My beloved child, when your true self is revealed, the harvest of righteousness begins to bloom. This is no longer the season of sowing in tears, but the time when you behold the seed of obedience flowering in glory. The tears you once shed, the silent prayers whispered in the night, the moments you chose to do what was right, even when misunderstood, all of these were not in vain. I have gathered every seed into the storehouses of heaven, and now they begin to sprout in your Kairos season. Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. Psalm 1, 2, 6, 5. My child, do you remember the times you chose forgiveness over retaliation, silence over self-defense, walking away over clinging on, In those very moments, you were sowing righteousness, not a righteousness born of self, but one that flows from surrender to me. For righteousness is not an outward act, but the posture of a soul yielded in obedience. And now the blessing begins to answer that obedience, not by chance, but by the eternal principle I established from the beginning of creation. Whatever you sow, you shall also reap. But my child, my harvest does not resemble the harvest of the world. The world reaps to hoard, you will reap to serve. They reap to prove their worth. You will reap to glorify my name. Your blessing is not meant to lift you above others, but to place you in a position of sacred influence where you can use what I have entrusted to you to serve many more. You have been tested, refined, and taught how to guard your heart in waiting. And now I can trust you with abundance because you no longer see it as the goal but as a tool. I speak to you. Nothing that was delayed is lost. It has merely been awaiting its harvest. There are seeds you planted long ago that seemed forgotten, the prayer whispered in weakness, the kindness given with no return, the patience held when others gave up. All are germinating beneath the soil. Your ground is not barren, it is only resting. And now the Sun of Righteousness rises, awakening those hidden roots to life. You will look back and see nothing done in faith is ever wasted. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Galatians 6:9. My beloved, I know you have grown weary. At times you asked, when will the blessing come? When will good be rewarded? And I remained silent, not because I forgot, but because I was working in the quiet. I was teaching you how to love without expectation, how to serve without recognition, how to obey without reward. Now that your soul has been purified, I can open the gates of harvest without fear that you will lose yourself within the blessing. My child, true blessing is not merely what you receive, but what you become. When you step into your harvest season, you will realize that the greatest reward is not success itself, but the maturity of spirit that no longer depends on success. You no longer need validation, for I have already approved you. You no longer chase blessings, for blessings now chase you. The righteousness you have lived has become a divine magnet, drawing to you all that belongs to you in the perfect order of my kingdom. You will see doors open not because you knocked harder, but because I have sealed the appointed time for you. You will meet new people, new opportunities, and divine connections, and you will know that none of these come by chance but are the harvest born from past obedience. When you chose the narrow road, I opened the wide path of grace. When you chose to believe in the dark, I prepared the radiant dawn. Everything you have lost, I will return in purer, lasting form, not as something you struggle to hold, but as something I entrust to you. My child, do not be surprised if in this season of harvest I lead you to places you never dared to dream of. For you have proven that you can be faithful without fame, steadfast without recognition. I will let others see my light through your life, not through titles, but through the fruit of righteousness. People will notice you, not because you strive to stand out, but because you shine naturally. They will see in you a calm they cannot buy, a peace they cannot comprehend, and they will ask, what is your secret? Then you will smile and say, it is not I, but Christ in me. My child, this is the harvest season of the soul. Those who once doubted you will witness my righteousness displayed in your life, not so you may seek revenge, but so that my glory may be revealed. I have no need to prove that you were right. I only desire to prove that I am always faithful. When blessings overflow, you will no longer say, I have tried, but rather, the Lord has done this. For true blessing always turns your heart back to its source. And hear this, my child, the harvest of righteousness is not merely the end of a journey, it is the beginning of a calling. Every fruit you gather becomes a new seed. Do not keep them for yourself. Sow them again with the wisdom, mercy, and love you have learned. When you share grace, grace multiplies. When you give blessings, blessings bloom. Your harvest will never end, for I am the God of increase. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Psalm 9:2-1-2. My child, the palm tree does not grow in haste, but once established it bears fruit for life. So have I planted you deep in faith. Now you will bear enduring fruit through every season. The fruit you carry is not mere wealth, but wisdom, kindness, and an unshakable heart. These are the marks of one who has been set free, the one who reaps not to consume, but to distribute light. Beloved child, rejoice in this season, for I have remembered you. Not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. Not because you were strong, but because you did not give up. Now the righteousness you have lived begins to blossom, and all that was once broken turns into a song of praise. This is the harvest season of the obedient, the time when every blessing responds, every promise manifests, and every word I have spoken comes to pass. You need not wait any longer, for the soil is ripe, the heavens are open, and your harvest has come. Thank you for listening to today's message. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we may continue to receive the living word together, build unshakable faith, and walk in the boundless love of God. Amen.